So I get asked a lot of questions about my leg, and I'm going to go ahead and go over it in the next 6 videos. Yes, 6 videos. So there'll be 6 parts that you can go through. I hope y'all enjoy. I've been very lucky for one. I was a longer amputee to begin with. So before, the issue I had was my prosthetic knee was a lot lower because this bone stuck out about 3 inches further. Last year, I had to have surgery to repair some damage that was done. And, now we're left with this. After that surgery, my leg was pretty swollen. It was, I would say, right about here. So that's when you start wearing a prosthetic and you start training it to lose volume or shape training, you will start to develop something like this. So it doesn't hurt right now because I have a much better fitting socket. That's where you start losing weight. So what happens is it starts coming in right here. And then if you lose more volume, it will find another place to do it. That's why I've got these two. And the last one is this little one right here. It just had to end up tucking just a slight bit inside my socket. The really cool thing about my limb, it was so long that they kept the muscles attached. They wrapped over like this. So I always did this. It's kind of funny. Whenever I do it to people, I'll wave and do just random things. But I was always asked, like, why do you do that? And for me, it was thinking, hey, later on, they're going to have some sort of sensor they can put on your leg. And if I do this, then that would help the knee bend. It would help if I did this, extend the knee. One day they'll come up with that. But right now, I found out a way to use those muscles inside the socket. So whenever I'm taking a step, if I'm actually walking forward, so I'm taking a step and I'm swinging forward, I do this inside my socket. So just like if you were to be going like this, you're flexing your quad. I'm doing the same thing in my socket. Here, it also puts and braces this up against the socket right here. That way there's no impact. At least that's what I learned to do with my muscles. Then same thing with firing back. If I'm going to be taking a step and going this way, I'm going to do this. And so it bunches up, protects me right here so I can do a harder step or a quicker step if I'm trying to run or if I'm trying to do something, and it pads that and I'm not hitting the bottom. So if you look at it, it's very jelly. There's nothing to it. But if you activate those muscles, not much is going on. I do have fat right here, but as far as the top, it's again very loose. But if I do this, all I have is skin right above that muscle. But anyway, yes. So the other part, inside these sockets, what happens is you have this femur. You have the femur that's going to do what it wants. If I'm trying to go this way, that way, it's going to do it because of my hip. I'm activating it to go that way. The problem is the muscle and the fat and the tissue around that. So bones here, I can move this way. Now all the padding is over here. If I do this, I still have a little bit of padding on the inside, but now it's moved to the outside. One of the bigger issues that I have, and I think this is why the liner ends up working off of my limb. One, because of sweat. There's so much sweat in between the liner and my limb that it is slipping off. There's no grip. So every time I take a step down in the socket, this is down right here. So every time it's fully seated inside there, it's right here. So the bone, it's all right there. We're very firm, a little bit of padding, we're good. So now every time I take a step, your limb, it's not going to stay at the bottom. It's held on by suction. So you're going to lift up slightly depending on this. So every time I step up, now it's going to here. So it can go here. Where's the bone? Bone's all the way back here. So I have all of this extra where the liner is up here. And then whenever I have the sweat, I'm thinking that it does this and it'll keep the liner sticks to the inside of the socket, but it's not sticking to my limb because of the sweat. So we go to here, every step up, it might slip just a little bit. And then, oh, we took another step and then it slips more. Another step, slips more. And all of that bunches up at the bottom. And one, it'll cause pain. That's the first thing I feel. So I know, like the videos with my legs falling off, I pretty much know it's going to fall off. I'm preparing for it. I even told my coach, like, hey, my leg's going to fall off. And he's like, hey, you want to stop? I'm like, nah, it is what it is. I'm already used to it. We'll just figure out and see what happens. But so I can feel when it's going to do that. My weight today, I got a balance on this scale. It's 176.7, which is about 10 pounds. Hi, Echo. It's about 10 pounds lighter than before when I was getting that socket made. So we're going to try to do a little bit of work to it. I don't recommend doing it, but I'm going to do this at home. And then I'm also going to go see my prosthetist this week so he can do the correct adjustments that are needed. One thing that I did to this socket, which I don't recommend, it was something that I think I affected during the test socket period. Whenever I had my my sockets before, the liner right here, it goes inside, and then what I would do is wrap this liner over it. So I would never really feel any of these edges. It felt gummy, so it was okay. But I'm seeing now that that was a problem because as I have a shorter liner, it goes right to the brim, a little bit taller than that. But this part would start to poke and pinch. Me wrapping over that liner, it didn't tell me what was hurting, what was poking. Again, that's all on me, not the prosthetist. But what I did to alleviate that, again, don't do it. I heated this up with a heat gun and I rolled it over. So it was pretty far out there and tall. Again, I didn't feel it whenever I had the liner wrapped over, but once it started to cut and I cut that liner shorter, goodness, it hurt. So, and that's the amputees, we always talk about a pinching. There's always a pinch, 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 pinch. That's where it's happening, all right here. So I figured I might as well try it. I will go ahead and heat it. I rolled it over. This part is great. It's right here inside where it's very pronounced. So I was giving myself room right here. Again, rolling it over. Right now, I'm going to actually heat it up a little bit more for this part. I feel it's not pinching me. It doesn't jab me. There's nothing of that going on. But I can feel it pulling at my shorts every time I take a step. So I'm just going to heat it and roll it over. I've gone this far. I might as well go further. If I mess it up that much, then you'll get to see that. And again, don't do this. So again, I'm going to heat this up and then I'm going to attempt to take the liner out and I'm going to try to pad the inside how I've had done before whenever I lose volume. And again, this is nothing on the prosthetist. I lose volume quickly when I get a really good fitting socket. I use my muscles much more inside there. If you can see, I can manipulate my limb. So inside here, I will contract and do certain things in order to do certain movements. But doing so with this one, it felt so comfortable all the way up against my limb. I used it so much that now I've lost more volume, and again, swimming and everything, it's making me lose that volume. So we're going to try to pad it. And I'm probably going to fast forward this, so it's not going to bore you. See how that is. So you got to be careful. If you do it, it's very hot. But see how this is more stiff? Now this is pretty gummy. I'm not going to do it too much. I just want the edge to be gone. And your prosthetist will do this. This is something that you pay for whenever you get the socket. You can go in and have any adjustments made. They will do it for you. Don't do this yourself. Now I've worked it down just a little bit. Again, I might not like that. I might end up rolling it some more. We'll see. But now the issues that I caused because of that, I fixed one problem with the pinching. There was no more pinching. It was great because of this right here. But now with this gone, that was holding it back. It was holding me up just a little bit. That was one of our pressure points that I liked and I wanted. Now I alleviated all that pressure, and now I fit further down in the socket. So now I will have to go ahead and do that padding. I have to fix my other mistake. So I put a sock right here on the outside. Pretty easy. And then I did the same on the inside. So I had two socks, one here, and it helped so much more. So I was like, okay, so now I feel that pressure again. Now I'm sitting up where I need to be, not hitting the bottom. But okay, we're not going to use socks. We're going to go ahead and use something else. So the other thing that we're going to use is an old liner that I had. It was the top part. I don't use this particular liner because it was from an old socket that I had made. So I just cut off the top section of it, and I'm still debating where I'm going to put it. I think I want to put it here so that way I have more control all around. But I'm afraid that might be too much because again, the socks, they were here and here, and I know that felt great. But if I now go on the front section, it might be too tight. And what that'll do is hold me up, and I'll feel that a different kind of pain, which it'll cause suction down here, causing like blood blisters on the nub. I definitely don't recommend taking this apart unless you have done it before. I tend to play with a lot of the prosthetics and try to do things myself because that's what I had to do before. It was deal with it. Now I shouldn't be doing this, but again, my curiosity gets the best of me, and I want to see if I can fix it. So with that Velcro, got to get a piece of paper, and you'll have to stuff it down in between the Velcro. That way it doesn't stick. Boom. Comes on out. And I use my nub for this purpose. Kind of helps hold things. It's like a third hand. I keep wanting to wrap it around like this. But again, I think it'll be too much. So maybe one strip on each side. Yeah, I'll just do that. Basically, I'm not going to go all the way. Right about here. I'm going to try that. Still, I don't know how I'm going to stick it to this or that, whichever. But I'm going to put a little bit on this side. I might just stay up top with this to give that pressure right here, and then on the outside, because I want it more, I like more pressure on the outside. It keeps this part away from here. So we may do that. Since it's temporary, I'm just going to tape it. All right, so we have two options. We got duct tape and we got blue tape, painter's tape. I think, duct tape fixes everything, right? Why not? Might work. I think maybe one on the inside. So pretty small, but again, I want the pressure there where I accidentally released. And I'll use duct tape again. You can see right here, we'll try to get it worked down. May be a little high, so what I'm going to do is try to put my leg in there. It'll help push it down. As you can see right here, it is high, which is fine. I can tell down here. Okay, so I can tell just by putting my leg in here, it's a little too tight. I like this one. So I'm going to take the one off on the inside and try this again. So now you can tell it's seated just a little bit better. That's more where it was before. I'm going to wait to see if I can put this on before I take the paper out. So I can tell it's a little bit higher, just a hair bit higher. But again, I'm going to see the prosthetist this week, and he'll get to see what I did to it. He'll probably see the video, but it's a good starting point. I'm going to go ahead and try to put it on again, make sure everything's fine, take a couple steps, and then I'll pull the paper out. Cool. Yeah, it feels so much better, keeping me up where I was prior to making that adjustment, ill-advised adjustment. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. I do think it's a tad bit too much pressure, but we'll see how it goes. I'm seeing the prosthetist this week, and he can kind of fix what I've done to it. So the other thing, whenever I was sitting more in the prosthetic because of this, I had to lengthen my foot. I actually added this whole piece because I was falling into the socket so much more. Again, my problem because I made that modification. So I was compensating. I went ahead and lengthened the leg. I actually lengthened the pylon, extended it more so that way my height was better, more matched. But now that I've got it much better fitting up here, I'm going to sit a little bit higher because of that extra pressure all right here, exactly where I want it to be. Again, I was falling too much in it, and the tip of this was hitting down in here. We don't want to do that. That's not how he made the prosthetic or the socket. That's just because of the modification that I did. So now I'm compensating. Again, putting that padding puts it back to that same pressure. Again, because I lost weight, a whole 10 pounds since this socket was made. And a lot of that weight is fat, especially in this limb. So we'll see. We'll see how it works, and then I will check back with Kurt and see how badly I messed this up or if I was doing okay. So again, I'm one of the luckier amputees, I would say, because of my limb length. It's harder the higher you go. You won't have that muscle function to be able to do things that I do. Doesn't mean they're better. It doesn't mean that, hey, I've figured something out that others haven't. It's just something that works for me, but it also makes this lose volume very quickly. And, again, that's why I go ahead and put these padding, this type of padding in there is why I modify my socket. One, I feel like I'm bothering my prosthetist. But two, I want to figure things out on my own. I want to see why it's doing it. If I can fix it, I can do videos like this to where I can help others. At least understand. I don't recommend, again, doing this type of stuff. You can seriously mess it up. You can hurt yourself. I hurt myself and then had to overcorrect and do something else to make it not hurt. So be very careful with modifying your sockets. Leave that to the prosthetist.